Maxx Crosby is available, and from what I'm hearing, he is not against joining the 49ers. What's up? Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. We have breaking news. Jay Glazer's made it official. Maxx Crosby is not returning to the Raiders. He's, I guess, done with that team. I heard that a few weeks ago before Week 18. I said that there was a falling out between him and Tom Brady. They shut Maxx Crosby down for the season. Then Tom Brady was partying somewhere in New York or whatever with Leonardo DiCaprio, and there was like a whole thing about who's more of a Raider and who's more committed. So now Crosby's out. He wants out. And from what I'm hearing, the Niners aren't necessarily his first choice. He'd like to go to Dallas. He'd like to go to Detroit, but he would like to win. He hasn't been doing much of that, and the Niners do win. So Glazer said it would take more than the Parsons trade. That was 2 firsts and Kenny Clark. So the Niners would have to offer 2 firsts and a player, or 3 firsts. And I bet you they would offer at least 2 firsts. What do you think, Larry?
I love Crosby, first of all. I think Crosby's fantastic. I think he's 29. He would be a perfect complement to Bosa. He can play the run. He can play the pass. He's passionate. He's got a couple real good years left. I just think that price tag is going to be whatever it is for Crosby. It's going to be higher for the Niners because they're the Niners, and Mark Davis doesn't want to trade him to the Niners. And I don't think the 49ers are a team that is one Maxx Crosby away. He would help their pass rush for sure, but they still need 2 linebackers, a corner, a safety, receivers, a lineman, a run game. They just have a lot. They have a lot of needs. So I don't know. I mean, I love Maxx Crosby, but I don't know if they have the luxury of trading a bunch of assets for one thing like they did with Trey Lance. It's a safe play because he's going to play well, but it's also kind of a short-term play because he's going to cost a lot and he's, approaching the twilight of his career. I mean, he's probably got 3 good years in him. That's what you'd be paying for. So do you want to trade that much draft capital, 3 number ones for 3? I mean, some teams could do it. You could do it if you've been killing the draft and you've got this really deep roster, kind of like Green Bay did when they traded for Parsons. They could make that trade because they'd hit on all these receivers and tight ends and all these. So they were really loaded. I don't think the 49ers are in that spot. 49ers have missed badly in the draft in 21, 22, 23, maybe 24. If they had hit on 2 more of those drafts in a big way, I would say maybe. But the fact that they haven't, I don't think it makes sense because they have too many other needs.
Here's why I think the 49ers will offer at least 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. They want to make a big splash. They weren't allowed to make a big splash last year. They had financial constraints. I think that now that they won 12 games in a playoff game, given those constraints, they'll be rewarded. And Maxx Crosby's probably the best player available. 2 first-round picks are late first-round picks for the 49ers. We're not talking like the 10th pick in the draft. We're talking like the 27th pick in the draft. And as long as you're going to keep John Lynch for another year, do you really want to let him draft a player in round 1? Are you confident in the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch brain trust at pick 27 to pick whatever wide receiver they like this year? Or would you like them to trade for a player that is an all-pro and fits your defense and is good against the run and the pass? And, you'd be very top heavy and you have a lot of money tied up in defensive ends, but maybe this allows you to, trade Bosa at some point. I mean, who knows if he wants to end his career with the 49ers? He's a Miami guy anyway. He's expensive. It would give you some flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, Bosa's coming off of, a 3rd ACL, and you just kind of wonder how much does he have left in the tank and how durable can he be from this point on. Yeah, it's one of those things where the Niners have a bunch of needs and they're all going to get filled, right? It's not like they're going to go into the year with lesser number of players. They're going to get filled. It's just a matter of how do you spend the money that you have? How do you take the draft capital that you have and make it work? Now, if you go in this direction, then you're eliminating your first-round pick, which is your best asset. Yeah, you're right, though. I mean, they've missed on their number 1 picks. I mean, that's one way to look at it. But I don't know. If I were them, I think the smarter play is probably trade into the second round, and take a defensive end there that you really like. I mean, this kid Zion Young from Missouri is a big time player. He's projected to go in the second round. Defensive MVP of the Senior Bowl. Take him at the end of the first round. I mean, he's got more athleticism and youth on his side to be great longer. So, I mean, that's kind of what I would think that they would do. But I don't. Yeah, do I have faith that they would take on Zion Young? They probably wouldn't, because he's had a DWI and he's had some rough spots and he's got kicked out of a game or two, and he's a little bit kind of rough. So they probably would ace him out on their character standards. So maybe if you're not going to get this player, maybe you got to trade for him. But I don't think they're one player away. I just think that's my big thing.
Yep. I agree with that. The last time they tried to draft, the fact that, to me, you can't draft another defensive end in round 1 this year. You drafted one last year. It was Mykel Williams. You took him with the 11th pick. He's not a pass rusher. That's your fault. And you warned him about that the whole time. The reason I like this for the 49ers is, like, they aren't good at drafting. That's been established. They haven't drafted a real difference maker in the first 3 rounds in half a decade. If they hadn't drafted Brock Purdy, they'd have nothing to show for the last 5 years. But the big move they made that they can take credit for, like the big move, they planned it, they executed it, it worked out, was trading a second, a third, and a fourth for Christian McCaffrey when they did. And Maxx Crosby, he's about that good. I mean, he's an incredible player in his prime, which is why they're going to get 2 or 3 first-round picks for him. And would he make them the Super Bowl favorite? No, but he's a hell of a player, and they're not going to draft someone that good ever.
Yeah. No, I get it totally. I just think that the price tag, it's like there's 2 kinds of trades in the NFL. There's the really select few guys that just go for a freaking king's ransom.
Yep.
And then it's everybody else goes for like a 5th round pick or less. I mean, I think you'll be shocked when we see some of the players, the veterans that get traded this offseason, and how low of the picks that teams get for the players. So players are, the top guys are viewed in a different way, and this guy's obviously one of the top guys. I just don't know if they're in the position, because of how badly they've drafted, to go all in on one asset, because then really the rest of the team, or the rest of those needs, linebacker, wide receiver, glaring needs there. Offensive line has to be rebuilt. Got to find a tight end. Who's your tight end? You have no Kittle. They have so many needs. It's like, man, they're going to have to really be judicious about how they go about this year. You can go for a Crosby, but then you sure as hell better be really, rock solid that you can fill these other holes. Otherwise, you're probably Crosby's going to be on like a 9-8 type team.
That's true. And here's the reality of the situation. The Niners might want him. Let's say they have a board meeting and they decide that he's worth the swing, like McCaffrey was. And they decide, we're going to call up Mark Davis and offer 2 first-round picks. Okay. Well, I would imagine other teams are going to offer 2 first-round picks. What if Dallas offers 2 first-round picks? What if Detroit? What if the Jets offer 2 first-round picks? All of those teams have better picks than the 49ers. So it feels like even if they wanted him, which I think they do, I don't think they can afford him. It would probably take 2 firsts and a good player, or 3 firsts, and I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, here's the one variable that we haven't brought up here. Mac Jones. We all think the Raiders are going Fernando Mendoza, and they most likely are. But you know how many, bad organizations, and I'd have to put the Raiders in that category, get nervous when big decisions are coming. And are they all totally rock solid on Fernando Mendoza? Or does somebody look at that and go, you know what? I have a question. And then when they have a question, is it suddenly easier to take Arvell Reese and trade for Mac Jones? Because let's make no mistake about it.
They want both Mendoza and Mac Jones. You can take 2 firsts, Mac Jones, and draft Mendoza, and feel like we got 2 quarterbacks.
But that would be the Niners' secret weapon. That's how they get the seat at the table on Maxx Crosby in a trade. If they really do want him, how do they push to the front? The Raiders wanting Mac Jones, because there's only one Mac Jones. The quarterback thing is so, this is the ultimate year to be trading a quarterback, because the quarterback market is really thin. So you know what? You want Mac Jones? How about Mac Jones a first and a conditional 27 pick? How do you feel about that? Oh,
That's not gonna be
you're good. Well, Mac Jones has real value. I think Mac Jones has real value. I really do.
when you say real value.
I think you can get
Second?
two. I think you can get 2 day 2 picks for Mac Jones.
What did the Niners get for Alex Smith 15 years ago? Was it 2 twos? It might have been 2 twos.
It was 2 twos.
It was 2 twos?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got some super chats. C or G Code Travels Vlog says, if Sam wins the Super Bowl, then the Niners pick the wrong quarterback. Oh, hold on. That's going to be our last topic. Wait for it. Dimitrov says, Crosby is too expensive. Get depth. Get more picks, not less. This draft is deep. All right.
I mean, I would have confidence that I could find 2 or 3 guys, but I don't know that the way they've been doing it, if they would take the kinds of some of these guys that are really good at rushing the passer kind of have some warts and have some issues. And it's like, are they going to be on the Niners board even because of those issues? I don't know.
Shardal's been a member for 9 months. I appreciate you, Shardal. Thank you very much. Okay. This was incredible. Donte Whitner is very smart and outspoken. He played for the Niners. He was always great to interview. Then he was working for NBC. Then he was like the biggest Niners homer. Now he's not working for NBC, and I haven't really been following up with him, but he went crazy viral this week, eviscerating Raheem Morris. I didn't see it coming. He made some good points. So, Larry, why don't we all listen to Donte Whitner,
Yeah,
shout out Hittner, and assess his assessment? Because, damn. Okay, here we go.
People achieve success without merit. I truly believe that the 49ers will be looking for their next defensive coordinator, mainly because they hired based on friendship and they went with the safe bet here. Now you say he might have earned it, Whitner. He might have earned it. His track record as a defensive back coach in Washington, 30th ranked pass defense, 26, 28, 24. He goes and get nepotized again in Atlanta with his college coach, Dan Quinn. 250 plus yards given up, 19th ranked. Then Dan Quinn gets fired and you assume the role bottom ranked in defense again that year. 2021 comes, McVay makes a call and gives him the responsibility of taking on Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey in the number 1 defense in 2021. None of it was earned. None of it was merit. Now you're the 15th, 16th, 17th ranked defense in the league with the same players. And the only reason you win the Super Bowl is because you had an all-world offense that year. So then you go to Atlanta, 23rd in points in 2024, 23rd in yards, 22nd in pass defense, 31st in sacks, 2025, 19th in points, 15th in total yards. How does this make the San Francisco 49ers better?
How does this make the 49ers better, Larry?
You know, he makes a lot of great points. First of all, this is what I've been talking about. It's like all these people that were crushing Gus Bradley, what did they crush him on? Did you see the pass defense rankings when he was in Indy and with the Raiders? And so you're going to point to those numbers from years gone by. Now we can't even remember who was on those defenses. But then this guy gets a free pass and he's never had a top 10 defense. And you would think that the way people have talked about him, that's like wherever Raheem Morris goes, a top 5 defense follows. But then when you look it up statistically, it's not there. I mean, it's a good choice for Kyle if this guy can compete, can communicate with Kyle and Kyle head coach has to be in lockstep with him. So they're obviously going to be in lockstep. There are beliefs that he's scheme versatile and that he is a guy that will now allow the 49ers to keep the culture on the defensive side of the ball that they've established and like, for example, Chris and Johnny up front. I think those guys will probably stay. And then they like their wide 9, and this is a guy who's proven that he can do it from a 4-3, from a 3-3-5, from a 3-4. I mean, he is a chameleon in that regard. He can be scheme versatile depending on the talents of his players. So he's also thought to be a guy that the players really like, that he really believes in, establishes a positive culture. There's a lot of good things about Raheem Morris. He has developed some players that I think he potentially could bring here, like a Kobe Durant. I thought he got a really good usage out of Jalen Ramsey when they won the Super Bowl there, and they used him in that star role. I thought it was really effective. I don't know. I agree. That's why, there's warts to all these guys. That's what I was trying to say when I was saying I was fine with Gus Bradley. The warts on Schwartz were that you were going to have to go from a team that you've almost predominantly plays zone to now playing man, and you may not even really have man coverage players back there, and it's a totally different mindset. You may have to change personnel, so that was going to be an issue. And then with Bradley, it was going to be like, well, does he adapt? Is he just going to play cover 3, and can he deal with modern offenses? Can he provide those wrinkles? And I think with Morris, it's like, is he just Kyle's buddy, who's a good defensive coach, who's been on some incredible teams and has 2 rings, or, in the right place, right time, or is he truly this awesome top tier defensive coordinator that can take your talent and add his wrinkles and make it all work? I don't know.
I mean, after listening to Whitner, I had to ask myself, what is truly the difference between Raheem Morris and Steve Wilks in these situations? And to me, the biggest difference, there's a lot of
Kyle's
similarities.
guy.
The biggest
Kyle's
difference
guy
is that he's Kyle's guy. They get along. They're friends. Okay, maybe that's huge, because Wilks, if you look at his resume, he doesn't have any top defenses on his resume, except for the one year he was coaching the Niners, where he inherited the number 1 defense, just like Morris did with LA. So 3-4 guy, kind of like Morris, pressure guy, kind of like Morris. So Kyle was into it. He let Wilks do his thing. They were 5-0. Wilks was getting head coach conversation stuff. He was up in the booth. He called that one blitz in Minnesota before halftime and got burned. And it seemed like Kyle neutered him immediately after that, and the relationship went sour. So is it just going to take one blitz that goes wrong for Kyle Shanahan to be like, you know what, this is bad. This was a total mistake? I wonder.
I think their relationship is probably, he's probably has more belief in Morris. And you got to remember this on the Wilks thing. I mean, Wilks was brought in. They couldn't even decide where he should watch the game from and where he should coach it from. It's kind of, that right there is kind of bizarre too. It's like, we're going to change your vantage point, and not let you decide where you want to be. I mean, it was just very weird. It was like he was there running somebody else's scheme, and it seemed very uncomfortable, and it seemed very short term. Also, in fairness to Kyle, if you look at Steve Wilks' resume, and I did, in 22 years, he had been in like 19 different jobs. So maybe it's Steve Wilks is one of those guys that has a great reputation and gets jobs, but then wears out his welcome because he doesn't do his job all that well. The 0 coverage against the Vikings was criminal when you consider they were backed up in their own territory. There was no time left, and he goes 0 coverage, and Addison burns him for a touchdown. Maybe the lesson there is go get Addison, Well, maybe that's the lesson. But no, I think there's good things about Morris. I think that, the Niners play, they believe in the wide 9 and a zone heavy scheme. And I think this is going to allow them to have a wide 9 and a zone heavy scheme, but with a guy who is good at building culture, is very positive, and is somebody that Kyle likes and trusts. The other thing, that the word that Kyle always uses, Grant, when I ask him about, because I ask this question a lot, it's just one, because I don't like the personality questions. I like the information questions. So I always ask him, hey, what does this defense that you're playing this week, Kyle, look like on film? And a lot of times when he really likes a coordinator, he'll say, it's a blend of very timely blitzes that are well schemed and well planned with sound fundamentals across all levels. And that's really what Morris is. He's going to blend the modern blitz packages. He's going to play cover 3, cover 4, very sound zone principles. He's going to connect with the players. He's going to develop the young defensive backs. And, I don't think I'll say this. If you think he's going to come to town and turn water into wine and suddenly their crappy players are all going to be awesome, no. The big deal here is going to have to be somebody's going to have to make an investment in the draft. And I'm hoping that Raheem Morris has a great eye for talent. And maybe he's the reason. Like, he was in Atlanta this last year. They got Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman at safety. Maybe the 2 best safeties in the league rookie-wise. And they got the 2 best rushers in Pierce and Jalen Walker, who have great speed. Maybe he's got an eye for defensive talent, because Atlanta sure had a great year on that side of the ball in the draft.
Chris Sims was asked about Raheem Morris, and Chris Sims is Kyle Shanahan's best friend, and I just refuse to believe that they don't talk every day on the phone until 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? So I always
Right.
feel like he's informed by off the record. And, to me, Robert Saleh just got hired by the Titans because he kind of did turn water into wine, or maybe not wine, but something close to it. I mean, that defense on paper was the worst in the league. And uh, actually, I mean, he got it playing like an above average defense a lot of the time. And he did it in a very passive way, not giving up big plays, bend but don't break. Sims was like, it'd be kind of nice if this defense could get a turnover. It'd be kind of nice if this defense could get some sacks. So I think maybe Kyle felt, Saleh did well, but I actually, want a more aggressive defense now. It's kind of hard winning when the defense doesn't get you any sacks or any turnovers. So it seems like maybe Kyle has changed his thinking about what he wants from his defense. He's been so passive for so long. Maybe he'll actually give Raheem Morris the green light to bring more pressure. But I guess what Saleh would say, and maybe what Whitner would say is, all right, great, you're going to bring pressure. Are you going to give up fewer points than Saleh? Because last year Saleh gave up 21 here, and Morris gave up 23 in Atlanta. So was he really better? Is this defense good, or was it well coached last year?
Well, I definitely think it was well coached. I mean, especially when I saw that Philly game and you had Wallow and Kendricks, and these guys have literally been in the building for a matter of weeks, and they're, making line calls and moving guys around and making sure they have gap integrity. And the communication in that Philly game was outstanding. You could see it. So I definitely think they were well coached. Johnny Holland's a good coach. That's why I think they want to keep him. I think Chris Kaceric's a good coach. I'll say this about the Niners. They didn't have a whole lot of talent on that front seven. But I really kind of felt like by the end of the year, Kacerek was getting every bit of talent out of almost every one of his guys outside of like Beal and maybe a couple other guys. But I mean, basically Cleve Farrell, Keon White, Kalia Davis, Jordan Elliott, these guys were playing as well as they could play. Now, I think Kyle told us very subtly, he didn't do it with a lot of emotion, but he told us exactly what the issue is. They're slow. This is a slow football team. They were one of the fastest teams when they went to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 54 against Mahomes and the Chiefs the first time around. They're slow. The wide receivers are molasses. They're really slow. The running backs, McCaffrey has lost a step. I don't care what anybody says. He's lost a step. Kittle's now getting up there. They're slow. They're really, really slow on offense, and they're really, really slow on defense. So, I mean, they got to build up their speed off the edge at the second level. I mean, look at the Seahawks second level speed with Drake Thomas and Nick Emanwari, and you're looking at Garrett Wallow and Curtis Robinson. And, I mean, come on. They've got to get real about their personnel and get a whole lot faster on defense.
The Big 25 says cheaper to bring in someone that actually knows how to draft in rounds 1 through 3. You're right. Riker Trav says, Grant and Larry, you guys are awesome. F you, Krueger.
Thank you, sir.
Joseph Ernberg says there's no hope for this team the next 4 to 5 years. It's always a pleasure to see you. Joseph M. Dallas says Saleh also has a mediocre defense until he got Bosa, then had a mediocre head coaching career. Same story as Raheem. Same story as Raheem? I would say that Robert Saleh is definitely better than Raheem Morris.
Well, let's just say this. None of this is rocket science, man. This is about the Jimmies and the Joes. This is not about the X's and O's. Even these guys, even these defensive coaches, for the most part, if you got them in a room, they'd admit it. Robert Saleh was being this close to being run out of town until Bosa showed up. Then all of a sudden he's great. And you know what? Now, Robert Saleh is a really good coach. I'm not saying that he's not. But I mean, it's about the players. If you have the players, you gotta have the players. I mean, Robert Saleh did an amazing job this year at utilizing what he had, but the 49ers also have some talent in the secondary and up front. It was young talent, but it was still talent.
Nick Sorensen had the players. He had Nick Bosa, he had Fred Warner, he had Travarius Ward. That defense was 29th in points allowed. I mean, the reason that Saleh's been hired twice is the season before he got hired, he didn't have Bosa and put together a defense that people felt like no one should have been able to put together, whether it was mediocre or not. I'd love to see Raheem Morris do that, and I'm really curious to see how this goes with Raheem. Dimitar Dimitrov says Raheem Morris equals turnovers. That's certainly what they want. I'm not saying this because I heard it says something. It means something bad in Spanish. Calling it now, it'll be another boring offseason. You tried to get me, but I'm way ahead of you. Bill Kennedy says love Crosby, but Niners need to get younger. Keep Mac. All right, let me ask you this. I interviewed a molecular biologist yesterday who specializes in light biology, and there's a lot of very interesting theories that haven't been proven in a double-blind study with, but it seems to me the Niners, the burden of proof is on the Niners. They're the most injured team almost every year, and they can't prove that it's not this substation. So the scientists had a really interesting suggestion. Why don't you just move for a year or two and see if anything changes? So short of moving entirely for a couple of years, back in the 80s and 90s, 81 and 97, the Niners would do their off seasons in Rockland at Sierra College. That's where they won all their Super Bowls. And they would come back during the season. Do you think, for old time's sake and for maybe health and wellness, the Niners should go back to the future and check out Sierra College for mini camp, OTAs, training camp?
Why not? Why not? I know they love their facilities and their cameras, but everything that they film and all that stuff is all put it in a truck, drive it to Sacramento. It would be great. I think it would be fantastic. It would be hot, but it would be great. No, it would be great. I mean,
that used to be the tradition, right? The tradition was you wouldn't do training camp at your facility.
Right. But now their facilities are so great. And I'm sure there's so many different rehabilitation things that they have with their infrared.
But they're still staying at the Marriott. It's not like they get to be at home with their kids.
No. I mean, and they could, believe me, they could find another hotel. They don't have to stay in the dorms at Sierra College. They could still have training camp up there.
Make them stay in the dorms.
No AC, little tiny bed. But yeah, I mean, I'd be all for that. Why not? Try it out. I mean, the one thing I would not do is they should not have Jed talk about this anymore because Jed, we all know that Jed doesn't know about it. And it's like when you try to dismiss it by saying that Jerry was healthy. Well, Jerry wasn't healthy, really. I mean, Jerry tore an ACL and whatever. I mean, Jerry was great. But don't tell me Jerry was like never got hurt or something. Jerry got hurt. It's like it's
and also, what does one player 40 years ago have to do with an overall trend? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And it's just exactly. The whole one guy was healthy one time is just not
exactly.
That's not going to do it. And here's the issue. The issue is not. Don't listen to me because I think I know a lot. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is listen to the players that you're going to have to sign. I was looking at some quotes from today about this, and it's like there's now, granted, it's I think it was the tight end for Arizona came out and basically said, Trey McBride believes that NFL free agents will not want to sign with the Niners due to the substation. And he says, I think that's something that would deter people away from coming here. And then Garrett Bowles said, I truly believe that there's some component to it. Obviously, the Niners have had some issues, and that's concerning to all of us because, these are NFL players who this has gotten to them. They've heard it. So you're not just.
I'm surprised the NFLPA hasn't said something yet.
Right. You got to put the Niners have a ticking clock here. They have about 3 weeks to dismiss this credibly with a study or something or a decision or, I asked somebody, how much would it cost to recreate the substation somewhere else? And they said, well, it cost like $10 million to build it, years ago. So it probably cost $30 million. It might be worth the $30 million to move it out in the middle of somewhere else.
Here's the smoking gun too. When the Niners moved here in 2014, there's documentation that the city and the team wanted to move the substation, but it would cost $20 million to do so. And they were arguing about who should pay the bill, the city or the team. And so neither party paid the bill and it just stayed there. That doesn't look good. So look, it may not have any contribution to the injuries, but you're the most injured team in the league. You've said you want to try everything. You got to leave no stone unturned because you haven't found the answer in a decade. Boom, go to Rockland. Go to Rockland and conduct your own science experiment.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just you can't just speak it away with, and this hoping is that it goes away. It's not going to go away with hope. And
Listen
this
to your players.
the bottom line is perception is reality. It doesn't even matter if it's reality. It just matters that that's the perception. The players, if no players will sign with you or players don't want to sign with you, you could get to, the second week of March and be screwed. So you've got to, I know the Niners were big players in free agency last year, but the two of the Super Bowl teams, I think New England was number 1 in free agent spending. Seattle was like number 3. So if you want to contend, you probably should spend a few bucks in free agency.
First day of the Super Bowl week, the NFL came out and said that they did a study and that there is no statistical evidence that shows that artificial turf leads to injuries more than grass. They came out and said it. And yet the Niners spend a lot of money to maintain their grass because they feel that their players appreciate it, because the players think they're more likely to get hurt on that turf. So millions of dollars they spend for the players on grass. Man, it's the same idea. Until you can prove that this isn't the issue, until you're not the most injured team in the league, you got to be in Rockland or Napa or Alameda or anywhere else across the street.
Well, here's the thing, though. You can't go on with people feeling that your facility is next to a substation. So it's not it's not even about like, well, yeah, maybe they could be less injured, but what if they are less injured? Then, do you think they're going to want to do? Yeah, I mean, are they going to want to say that it was because of Rockland? No, we all know that it's a financial side of this. If they could just, if it was a cardboard box, they would tear it down and pull it out. But because it's a substation that has meaning and impact and is probably very expensive, suddenly it's like, hey, it's not the substation. Well, okay, that's fine too. But tell me that with a study that is credible, that's independent.
All right, before we get to some super chats, I want to shout out this week's sponsor, 1-800-CONTACTS. For over 30 years, 1-800-CONTACTS has been the leader in online contact lens delivery with millions of contacts in stock and award-winning customer service. Here's what sets them apart from everyone else. They offer fast, free shipping on every order and have more than 100 million contact lenses in stock, ready to ship from their distribution centers across the country. Free returns and exchanges mean you can order confidently. They even offer unbeatable perks like free torn lens replacement. They also provide a way to renew your contact lens prescription from home with their online vision exam called Express Exam. It takes less than 10 minutes and gives you a doctor-issued prescription you can use to buy contact lenses. No other major retailer makes prescription renewal this easy. Their best price guarantee means if you find your contacts at a lower price elsewhere, they'll beat it. That's a promise you won't find everywhere. They have extra discounts for new customers on their site. Their 24/7 customer support is there if you ever need help day or night. Whether you have a strong prescription or astigmatism, they'll deliver your contacts with fast, free shipping straight to your mailbox. Getting contacts doesn't have to be a hassle. Let 1-800-CONTACTS get you the contact lenses you need right now. Order online at 1-800-CONTACTS.com or download the free 1-800-CONTACTS app today. It seems to me that if you use contact lenses, there is no reason not to use 1-800-CONTACTS. It's the best, most efficient, easiest way to get your contact lenses, as Larry can tell you.
Love them.
Love them.
Love them.
Okay. So guess who's in town according to his story on Instagram?
Who's that?
Deebo Samuel. Deebo is, maybe he's just here for the Chapino. Maybe he just wants to see a little Super Bowl. But there's been rumors out there that the Niners might be considering a reunion with Deebo. He's going to be a free agent. Ayuk's not walking back through that door. And Juwan Jennings might get $20 million a year to block people next year and start fights. I'm looking forward to that for his next team, which brings Deebo back in the fold. Of course, the Niners need to get younger and faster, which he wouldn't provide, but he's friends with people and they know him, which is why Juszczyk's still here. I'm sorry. I think they're going to sign him. What do you think?
You know what? This is a big concern, because it's pretty clear that, just from last year in camp, every time they had an injury, they seemed totally ill-prepared to find somebody that they really liked around the league and really, really ready to go sign somebody who was here last year or the year before. They're
born.
Like they're done coaching. Like we coached last year, and now we just want guys who can play.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to coach anybody new. So we
Jordan Watkins intriguing, but he would take effort. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll bring in. You could have brought in any number of receivers that were probably better. Brandon Cooks would have been a much better fit. He was much more of a downfield threat, but he hadn't been here. So you brought in Bourne, who already was here, but he's just a redundant part, another 4'6", 4'7" wide receiver. And then at the end of the year, you're like, our receivers are kind of slow. I wonder why that is. You kept signing slow guys and redundant parts. So, yeah, I definitely think that it's a concern. Eric Armstead, probably going to be a cap casualty. Dre Greenlaw, probably going to be a cap casualty. Javon Hargrave, probably going to be a cap casualty. Deebo's a free agent. There's probably a couple other.
Come back. That's crazy. I hadn't even thought of that.
There's a couple other Niners that could be cut that I'm really fearful. Don't go back. This isn't baseball where guys are taking steroids and have multiple careers and multiple primes. When football players crest the hill and they go down, they just keep getting worse. So don't go back for Armstead. He had like 16 pressures this year. Don't go back for Greenlaw. He had like 16 injuries this year. Don't go back for any of these guys that the rest of the league, spits back at you. No, move on, find younger, faster, cheaper, better guys in the draft.
Yeah, it's just such a Niner thing to do. I mean, they're
totally going to do it. The whole
are you 30 and kind of way on the downside of your career? We would love to have you back. The one guy I'd love
to resist it.
The one guy that the Niners should want to have back and won't get back is Hufanga, man. I never understood why they were so casual about him. I mean, he's young and he's had injury issues, but so does everyone on their team. And he's a legit playmaker, and they don't have any of those. They could use a playmaker.
Yeah, total leader. Come on. Yeah.
What?
That was a bad one, but they felt like they were covered at safety.
When you got Jair Brown, I mean, you're good.
I don't dislike Jair Brown, but I mean, they obviously still have a need at safety. And so they now getting rid of a young safety that looks awesome in Denver doesn't look like a great move in hindsight.
All right, we'll move on from this, but we both agree that the Niners shouldn't sign Deebo Samuel. I think everyone could agree the Niners shouldn't sign Deebo Samuel, but I'm saying I think they will. Best prediction right now.
I'm going to say no, but it's more of a prayer.
I like that. I hope you're right. Aldo Martinez says Mack for Addison and a second / Ramsey and Pitts in free agency. All right, we're going to get to free agency in a minute. Mack for Addison and a second?
I think Addison is not worth a lot because they've already declined the 5th-year option. He's had 3 arrests in 3 years. He's a free agent. He's going to.
It could be a 1-year rental.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal for a guy who's had problems. I think the price tag's like 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick. It's a day 3 pick. It's not a day 2 pick for Addison. That'd be my guess. I know he's worth a day 2 pick, but I think what they're actually going to get, I think his market's going to be a day 3 pick. The other one's interesting. Ramsey, hold
on real quick. The Steelers got a 3rd and a 5th for George Pickens, so maybe a 3rd and a 5th for Addison, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Pickens, I think, so maybe a little bit, a little bit cleaner rap sheet than Addison.
He's nuts.
Yeah, he's not, but he's
he may not be in trouble with the law, but he's nuts.
Yeah. Addison drove too fast one time.
Yeah.
How many 20
Pickens seems like he'll quit mid-play. I don't know.
He's Pickens, Pickens is
emotional.
Is up and down. He's a wild card. He's a wild card. The Ramsey one, though, how about Ayuk in a trade for Ramsey? Because they're looking to cut Ramsey, and he's going to be a cap casualty.
Let's talk about that for a second. I've seen Guy Haberman floated it that there's some world where Ayuk comes back.
No, I don't think
get the feeling that Ayuk is working out? Do you get the feeling that he's acting like a guy who thinks he has a future in the league?
He looked like a guy that was going to be, give me 4 white walls or something the other day. But no, I think he's probably working out.
You think so? Okay, we'll see.
I think he's.
I wonder if he ever plays football again. That's where I'm at. But I don't have a good
injury.
Yeah.
He's going to be diminished for sure.
I just don't think he liked football that much. And I think he was so alienated by the team he was on, and then he got hurt. And I just don't know where his head's at. I don't know. The Big 25 says teams got younger and faster. Niners equal older and slower. Yeah, but Deebo will fix that. Silence says, why are they bad at IDing free agent vets, miss after miss? Luke Farrell.
I mean,
Mac Jones was good.
Yeah,
Sam
Mac
Darnold was
Jones,
good.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones was a great pick.
Yep.
Luke Farrell, yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that. I mean, he's just didn't seem like much of a. I mean, he's a blocker, but he, they threw him. He's a blocker who they threw almost as many passes as Tonjes.
He's getting paid more than Juszczyk, but I mean, they don't use him. Strange.
I don't think he's that great. I don't think he's that great of a blocker, to be honest. I
don't think he does anything particularly well. It was so funny. Early in the year, I think he scored a touchdown in one of the games in like the second or third game. And this was before Bosa got hurt. We were talking to Bosa at his locker, and Matt Lively asked him, "Hey, man, how good was it to watch one of your former college teammates score a touchdown this week?" And Bosa's like, "Who?" And Matt's like, "Farrell." And Bosa's like, "Oh, yeah, I did go to college with Luke Farrell." Oh, yeah, he was at Ohio State. Like, when did he ever do anything ever? Luke Farrell.
You can't.
Who?
That also kind of speaks to how many hits these guys take too.
That's true. Blood Moon says Philly O-line coach retired. They're in Oh, snap.
Really? That's a big
What's
one.
his name? Yeah, he's the
one.
best. And Fangio might retire too. Yikes. Is Big Dom going to retire? Because when that happens, then they're cooked.
When all the coaches retire, what does Sirianni do? He's going to.
Oh my God! Nothing. Same was what he always does. Nothing. The Real Lyrics Media says you guys are the best. Two guys who are honest and ask great questions. Hell yeah. Great content. Only difference is Larry is a passionate Niners fan like myself who will cuss every now and then. Grant doesn't, is funny, and doesn't care. Man, that was very nice. I appreciate that. The Big 25 says,
sorry for the bad language.
Needs,
sorry to drag everybody down with the bad language, but
I like the bad language. The passion's good. What this team needs is to bring in someone to hold Shanahan and Lynch accountable, but York is clueless. Yeah, that would have been the Eddie D way. All right, let's talk about. How about this? When the Niners bring in a new defensive coordinator, it seems to me that defensive coordinator has a big say on personnel. Like Steve Wilkes brought in a bunch of guys on defense, I thought he was partially responsible for them drafting Darrell Luter Jr. and Jair Brown. Then Robert Saleh last year, it was Michael Williams and all those guys on the draft, and Jason Pinnock and Bryce Huff. Now Raheem Morris is here. He was a head coach for the Falcons the last few years. And there's some of those Falcons guys are available. Do you think the Niners would be interested in some of them, such as Kyle Pitts?
They absolutely should. Especially since Kyle Pitts. They're talking about paying JJ wants. What? I mean, 15 to 18 million. I think you could probably just give that to Kyle Pitts. I'd rather have Kyle Pitts. He's younger. He's faster.
Younger, faster, bigger, more
explosive.
Need a
tight end, and he's. Yes, I think Kyle Pitts should be one of the primary targets of this offseason. I absolutely would target him.
It seems like the rest of the league is getting so much mileage out of these 2 and 3 tight end personnel groupings, and the Niners are still trying to trick the Seahawks with 21 personnel, which isn't working. I'd love to see them not spend a bunch of money on another wide receiver. They've had really bad luck trying to do that. They don't really throw to their wide receivers enough to justify spending 25, 30 million a year on them. Tight ends are cheaper. And I think they create some really good mismatches, and I like Kyle Pitts. He could be your starting tight end while George Kittle's out. I would imagine George Kittle probably will come back at some point midseason, knowing him. And then they would make a really nice 1-2 punch for a couple of years. And it would allow you to move on from Juszczyk finally.
Kyle Pitts is an enormous talent. You put him in this offense, and I think he would explode as one of the better players in the league.
I agree. This gives me hope, the fact that they have Raheem Morris. This is a Falcons guy. I wanted them to take Kyle Pitts instead of Trey Lance, which wouldn't have been right. There were other players to take, but Kyle Pitts has never really played with a good quarterback. He's never really been with a coach or an offensive coordinator for more than a year or two. I think he could really benefit from Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy could benefit from him.
Oh, and he's 6'6". He's got a great, he's a kind of a combo tight end. I was looking at some of those numbers this year on him this week. He was flexed out much more than he was in line. So he's more like a receiver than an inline blocker. You'd have to have, another inline blocker, but so what? You can find somebody to be an inline blocker. But yeah, if you have a guy like Pitts, Pitts is a difference maker. He's 25, 26. He's coming into his own. I think whoever gets him next is going to get his best football. He now has adjusted to the NFL. He's a blue chip top 10 pick. And I think people have forgotten about that. And Atlanta, with all the changes they've made, they're probably going to let him slide out the door with the regime change, and I would be right there to pay him.
I got another former Atlanta Falcon, soon to be former Atlanta Falcon, who could be of interest to the 49ers. He's sort of been linked to Kyle Shanahan forever. Kirk Cousins, assuming Mac Jones gets traded.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a great one. That would be a great one. Now, I don't know if Brock Purdy would be comfortable with somebody quite that experienced behind him, but you know what? Why not? Yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense. I think, and by the way, I've interviewed Kirk Cousins a few times. Kirk Cousins is a hell of a guy. He really is. He is a hell of a guy. And he can play. He can play. I mean, you have Purdy. Are you saying instead of Purdy?
No. I'm saying as like instead of Mac, assuming Mac gets traded.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be great. It's a different plan than the plan of the reclamation plan, which is go with Anthony Richardson, Zach Wilson, Marcus Mariota, whatever, some quarterback that you like, that you think, Justin Fields, and turn them into a starter that you could trade. But
Trey
if you
Lance.
don't think, if you like, Zach Wilson might be that guy, but maybe they think Zach Wilson's kind of a prick. Maybe they don't like him as a guy or something. So you're not going to bring in a guy. I think you're not giving Brock a seat at the table personnel wise or draft wise, but I think you might want to consult him on this one. And if he was cool with Cousins, I think Cousins makes sense.
Well, you wouldn't have to bring in Kirk Cousins if Brock Purdy could play more than 9 games in this. I'm sorry. But like the fact that he keeps missing time or 2 seasons in a row means to me that you can't go into the offseason. You can't go into 2026 with Curtis Rourke being your number 2 on the depth chart. He might be a great number 3, but he hasn't played a down in the NFL. He just redshirted a year. I think the backup position is really important, which is why I wouldn't even trade Mac Jones. But if they could get twos for him, or they could, put him in a trade package for Maxx Crosby, then great, so be it. But I would like them to get a good backup quarterback. Would Kirk Cousins want to sign up as a backup? Maybe if the coach is Kyle Shanahan and the starter is someone who has a history of missing time. I mean, maybe he might be interested in that.
I mean, it's so the avenue that they're leading the NFL in right now that it seems like almost a waste not to take advantage of it. I mean, you could pretty much have your hand pick of any free agent quarterback that's out there that's not getting a starting gig. Just like, hey, you want to be here? Worked for Darnold, worked for Mac. And by the way, on Mac Jones, I bet you if I were the Niners, and I get the sense that from what Shanahan said, they're of like mind. I think they're just going to attach a ridiculously high price to Mac Jones and see if somebody blinks. We'll see if somebody does. Somebody may. Because, I mean, look at this market. It is Fernando Mendoza and Mac Jones is the next best quarterback, and it's not even close. And if you want him, the Niners can kind of call their price. They don't have to trade him. They're absolutely in the catbird seat because they would love to keep him, but he's worth way more in a trade. And I think they may get a real nice trade.
Well, if Darnold wins the Super Bowl in a few days, the Niners could be like, look, I mean, we developed him. His career was going into the crapper, and we rescued him. And now he is a Super Bowl champion. And we just did the same thing with Mac Jones. How do you know Mac Jones can win a Super Bowl in a year or 2 on the right team? Like, this guy's worth something. And I wonder if a team will actually, I actually believe it. I think Mac Jones might be even better than Sam Darnold. And
I do think he is better.
It'd be really smart to trade for him.
I think he absolutely is better than Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold's got a big arm, and so he can do what he did last week, where he was late a lot last week. But guess what? He's got such a great arm, he can just zip it in there anyway. He's got such a great receiver, it doesn't even matter. But if you watch him, it's like he doesn't throw with anticipation like Purdy or throw guys open. He waits for the opening, and then he just zings it in there. Well, Jones is a little bit more like Purdy. He can throw you open. He can throw with anticipation. Jones is way, way more accurate than Sam Darnold. He doesn't have quite the Sam Darnold howitzer, but he knows where to go with the ball. He's 6'4", 220. Ball comes out on time with accuracy. I think he's more accurate than Brock.
So if Darnold wins in a few days, maybe Mac Jones' trade value goes up just by proxy because he's like the next in line. What about Purdy? if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl, does that diminish Brock Purdy's resume at all? I mean, he's sort of he has great numbers, but he's also sort of known as the guy who wins and is clutch. But he didn't win the Super Bowl with the super team. And Darnold, what if he does? Does all of a sudden people be like, is he better than Purdy? Like, what's at stake for Brock this weekend?
I don't think that what Darnold does in this game, one way or another, speaks too much about Purdy, other than if you talk to Sam Darnold, he's going to tell you that the turnaround of his career was not in Minnesota and was not Kyle Shanahan. It was Brock Purdy. So I actually kind of think that if you're an NFL quarterback prospect and you're actually listening to the dialogue and listening to what Darnold is actually saying, you would do anything to back up Brock Purdy, to be here, to learn from him, because it's clear that his preparation, his film study, his mental reps are really good. I mean, Fred Warner just called Brock Purdy the best quarterback in the NFL and said that he processes better than every other quarterback in the entire league. Now, that you could easily say, well, that's a guy backing his guy, but nobody made him say that. And he never said that about anybody else. So,
he also had some really, really big praise for Justin Herbert, but they're not teammates. But he's like, dude, just standing across the line of scrimmage from him, I mean, he can do things that no one else can do. And when he says, like, talks about Brock and his progressions, I wonder, it's like, man, you're not really in the quarterback room. Does anyone on the team really know Brock's progressions other than Mac Jones, Curtis Rourke, Mick Lombardi, Kyle Shanahan? Maybe not. I don't know. But I always appreciate Fred Warner supporting his teammates and his quarterback. And I do think Brock Purdy's very good. But I think it'd be interesting if Darnold wins this. I mean, it's not going to look great for anyone in the 49ers organization that Darnold could go away. And no one really thought anything of him a month ago. We picked the Niners to beat him because of Darnold. And all of a sudden he puts it together. It's like, geez. I don't know. That's all I have to say.
If he played like an all-timer and it was like right now, if you go down to Levi's, it'll make you puke. I mean, there's a Sam Darnold mural that's like bigger than the hospital that I was born in. I mean, it's just a gigantic, ridiculous Manhattan size mural, right there on the stadium. So that the fact that your backup quarterback, who's now in your division, beats you on the way to being the poster child for this Super Bowl in your stadium, yes, it has to sting a little bit. But I actually kind of think that this game's going to validate who everybody actually is. And I don't think Sam Darnold's going to play great. I think he played great against the Rams. The Niners were not ready for him at all, not ready for the Seahawks in any way. They were outgunned. And I think New England's got a good defense, and I think he's going to throw a pick or two, and I think he's going to look very much like Sam Darnold. That would be my guess.
I guess if he wins, you could say, like, can you win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy getting paid $53 million a year? I don't know. But I know you can win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold making $33 million a year. And that would be rough for the 49ers. Again, they didn't have to do that extension so quickly. They could have waited. They had Mac Jones. If they hadn't given Brock Purdy the extension that they gave him last year, and this year happened exactly the way it happened, where he had some really great stretches, but he missed 8 games, and Mac Jones showed that he can run the offense too, you think he'd still be in that $53 million a year range right now?
Well, I mean, it's just like that's where, I mean, is he better than Hurts? I would say yes. To me, Hurts, how you could separate Hurts and Purdy, I don't know that I could. To me, it's like, if I'm his agent, I'm saying he's as good as Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is making 53 a year. My guy deserves 53 a year.
You think the Eagles are happy about that?
Actually, I think they are, but I think they're going to figure it out that Tanner McKee is.
I think the rest of the league figured it out. The Big 25 says, what this team needs is to bring in. We got you. Hold on. Corey Coleman says Crosby to Seattle. Mafe walks in free agency and 77 in cap space.
They do have a ton of cap space. Yeah. Once again, I mean, the rich get richer. This is what happens when you draft well. You have a lot of cap room, and they've drafted well.
I'm thinking Dallas or Detroit's more likely. Hog20 says Niners can't move on from Juice until they move on from their scat back philosophy. They need a big back with decent speed that can make his own holes. The thing about McCaffrey at this point is he's not big, he's not fast, he doesn't make guys miss at a high rate, and he doesn't get a lot of yards after contact, but he's a good receiver.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna win when they make him part of a group. The guy that I'd be looking for in the running back market is I think David Montgomery is going to be a cap casualty in Detroit. He's an Iowa State guy. He's a good charging runner. He's a solid back. To me, let McCaffrey do the Jahmyr Gibbs role. Get Montgomery, draft a back, have a three-headed monster. Don't put it all on Christian. This year it was all on Christian. And then don't lean on Jordan James either, but let him surprise you if he's good. But
I love that call, actually. I mean, he did play college football with
Brock.
He overlapped with Brock Purdy, and he's the exact type of running back they need who would complement.
Solid.
Yeah, I love that. Great call. Joseph Verbrick says, I can't wait to be angry about the draft picks. I love you, Joseph. Blood Moon says, it wasn't because of Sammy Cheeks. It's the defense. He's Trent Dilfer 2.0. They don't trust Darnold. Rely on K9 and JSN. Take him away, D. He's done. Okay, would you say that the 2025 Seahawks is a more talented team, quarterback aside, than the 2023 49ers?
Is this Seahawk team better than the Niner team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years
quarterback
ago?
aside?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're more talented because they've got the number one receiver. They got a really great back. They've got a really great tight end. That kid Barner is awesome, and their line is really good. And now adding Zabel. Zabel's a tremendous guard. I think he's going to be a great guard for years and years. They got good tackles. Yeah, they're better. And then defensively, they've all three levels. They've got speed. Yeah, I like Seattle's defense.
Kittle, Trent Williams, Offensive Player of the Year, McCaffrey. I don't know. I think it's an argument. Slow Civic Garage says the Red Rocket. Is that Sam Darnold? It sounds kind of weird.
Is that Sam Darnold's nickname?
Rogue says, Grant, the video with Dr. Alex was Pulitzer-level journalism. Really great job. I learned a lot about my own health. Hope 49ers take this seriously or it's going to be bad. Yeah, it was so funny. I had it planned with her for a week, and we were like, wow, let's wait till the Super Bowl week. And Jed just happened to talk to Kay Adams an hour before and say what he said. It was just perfect timing. Thank you, Jed. He's trying to make this go away. He can't make it go away. And whether or not it's a thing, perception is reality, as you said. Players are concerned. They got to do something. They got to do something.
It's like not a big problem until a month from now. And all of a sudden, I mean, if you get to the middle of March and the Niners can't sign free agents because nobody wants to sign there because of the substation, then anything you do at that point is going to seem like lies and cover up and damage control. If you can get out in front of it before free agency in the next couple of weeks and get a very credible study that says that there's absolutely nothing to this and stamp it out with science and numbers and, something that's expensive but doable, I think then you got a shot. You better not just kind of cross your fingers and hope it goes away. That is horrible PR decision if they do that.
I was driving on 880 in Oakland today by the Oakland Coliseum. I was going to Monarch to play golf with my friend Kevin, and there's a big billboard right on 880, and it says, avoid the substation. Stay at home, watch the game, make picks. And that's for one of the,
right,
daily fantasy things, but it's hilarious. Everyone knows it's such a huge topic right now.
I mean, to hope it would go away. And then, by the way, oh yeah, Joe Rogan discussed it in his podcast. Something tells me it's not going to go away.
Too Much Sauce 33 says, watch the Kay Adams interview with him. Is Jed York complacent with just being good, but not being great? I got a bonus question for you before we leave. In 5 years, do you think the Yorks will own this team?
That's a good question. I would say yes. Because
I'm going to say no. I think they're going to sell it.
I know that there's always the plan to try to sell and then do something with the money. But then there's also the legacy of owning it, and the value is so great that the growth that you have is maybe you got into it at some point because you didn't just want to just be a rich guy who owned malls, and you wanted to be a person, you wanted to have an identity. You know, a lot of rich people are like, they own sports teams so they can have that identity. So you're not just another anonymous rich guy. I mean, who cared at all about Joe Lacob until he bought the Warriors, right? Now it's like Joe Lacob
He's a
spoke. What?
sportsman. He's a
Yeah.
sportsman.
Right. And now it's like you're on you graduate to a different level. So I would say there's value in that. And then when you look at the value of the franchise and the growth, now the smart play is to not sell and to enjoy that growth. I mean, the NFL's gone in the last decade from a $10 billion industry to like a $40 billion industry. Why would anybody sell?
Okay, let's try. Let me try to make the case. Jed wants to be a sportsman, like Lacob. But what about the parents? Is the mom aware of what's going on? Is the dad still interested? When are they going to want to cash out? It's still their team somewhat. And what about the sisters? Aren't they involved as well? I know Jed wants to be involved in things. Maybe that's why he's getting involved in European soccer. Maybe he's hearing like, we're going to renovate this stadium. We'll have the Super Bowl and the World Cup, and then we're going to try to sell high on this team before the substation becomes too big of an issue. I mean, it's becoming more and more expensive to run a football team. A good wide receiver costs you $30 million a year. A good quarterback costs you $55 million a year. At what point do they say, you know what? We could sell this franchise for $12 to $15 billion. Joe Lacob wants it. The Guggenheim Group that just bought that owns the Dodgers and just bought the Lakers, they want it. Let's cash out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers sale has made a lot of owners think about hitting the mother load and getting out.
And watch how much the Seahawks go for in a few months. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Now that was mandated by his Paul Allen's last wishes that because I don't know if you heard of this. Every penny's going to charity.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
He is liquidating everything and giving all of it to charity.
He hated his wife. That's messed up. I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's taken care of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, naming out Guido, the CEO, like giving him a little title credit right at the I wonder. I mean,
the growth you can, the growth is paper growth that you're not getting to utilize or enjoy. And I'm sure that as as you get closer towards the end of life, suddenly it's like, why I've got paper growth. I want to enjoy that. I want to do things with that. And I can't do things with that if I'm tied to this paper growth. It's like, maybe
I want $15 billion. Jed, I love you. Why don't you go run this soccer team? Soccer is even better than football. And you're never going to win a Super Bowl. So go win the Premier League.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how passionate they are about owning it. I'm sure though, since the Lakers sale, every big team owner, like, big market owner that has an iconic brand like the Niners are now dreaming that Laker dream, the 50 billion, I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount of money.
Would you think it would be a good thing if Joe Lacob bought the Niners from the Yorks?
Yes.
He'd be a lot different. I bet he'd move the team back to San Francisco in 10 years.
Fitz would be the new play-by-play guy.
Oh! His son would probably be picking the players. It might not be better. I don't know.
It might be worse. I mean,
it might be worse.
Justinian Jessup and all their terrible.
It would be hilarious if the Dodgers owned the Niners, though. If Niner fans had to root for a Dodgers-owned team, that would be funny.
Well, it's already happened. Peter Guber owns the Warriors and the Dodgers.
That's true. It's a good point. Yeah. All right, Larry, that's my show. Thanks for indulging me as you always do. You're the greatest. And thanks for watching, everyone.
Peace.
Sell the team.